Most aches and pains in the body have one common source, but the problem is most people don't know what that one common source is. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what that one common source of aches and pains is, and I'm going to give you solutions so that you can move better and feel better. We'll cover the shoulder and the lower back, and make sure you stick around till the end of the video because we're going to cover upper trap and neck tightness, and it might surprise you what's causing that. But first, I want you to try this. Stand up tall and try to bend forward and touch your toes. Take note of how far you get to and where you're feeling tension. Now, what I want you to do is take two hands between your knees and squeeze your knees together as hard as you can for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, stand up, hold your hands on your rib cage, and exhale hard for 5 seconds. Now, same thing, try to reach your toes again and see if you can reach farther and see if the tension feels differently. What you'll probably notice is that you can reach much farther and the tension in your back feels entirely different than it did just 10 seconds earlier. Okay, so why is that and how does that help us solve over 90% of common aches and pains in the body? Part of the reason is that certain areas of the body develop tension and you need to find the right strategy to address that tension. Have you ever wondered why your back feels stuck in tension and stiff and unable to move, and someone else's back can move more freely and doesn't have any tension? Well, it works kind of like this. Imagine trying to pick up a big heavy box by yourself. You have to twist and get tense and maybe overuse one spot of your back as you try to pick up this big heavy box. Now compare that to having two other people help you lift that box up. When the load is spread out, it's much more manageable and you can maintain your position and spread that load out throughout your body much more easily. Now let me explain how that relates to most cases of lower back pain. When you can extend through multiple areas of the back uniformly, you can spread out the load as you're doing movements throughout the day, and your back will generally feel better. If you have a lot of tightness or movement restriction in one area, often that area will become overused. The first fix for this is learning to hinge your hips really well. Oftentimes when we have tension in specific areas of the back, we also have tension in the lower glutes and we don't move our hips very well. If we can reduce some of that tension through the hips and learn to hinge better, we can often distribute load throughout our back and throughout our hips much better and not have that one focal point that's taking up a lot of stress. A great way to do this is by hinging on one leg with a reach towards the opposite side. Now, this specific motion is going to help you integrate some spinal rotation with hip extension. Our goal here is to reduce tension in the posterior or the back of the hip as we feel a stretch there, and to also rotate through the spine at the same time. Teaching clients this movement pattern has helped a lot of people resolve this band of tension across one side or both sides of their lower back and help them move a lot better. I recommend doing this for just 1 to 2 minutes at the start of your warm-up and then going into your typical strength exercises like squats and deadlifts to really reinforce and strengthen this new movement pattern that you now have access to. When we can move more uniformly with less tension through these movement patterns, then our strength training becomes much more efficient and more long-lasting. But the lower back isn't the only area where we see this focal tension and movement restriction. We also see this in the shoulder. One common area of tension that ends up taking a lot of stress through lifting and daily motions is the front of the shoulder. When we're tight and restricted at the neck or at the mid back and we can't extend well, then this front of the shoulder has to take up a lot more load. Oftentimes it can feel like no matter what you do, you just can't take pressure off of this area. So what we have to do is work within our available range of motion and free up motion at the joints above and below in order to improve that shoulder motion and make it feel better. One of the best ways that I've found to do this is with a TRX low squat with deep exhales. With this motion, we're flexing the shoulder up, but not all the way overhead where we're going to get compensations at the rib cage or at the neck. Instead, we're keeping it just at the end range of shoulder flexion that's active and available, and that's the area that's the sweet spot for being able to actually reduce this tension and improve this motion. Now, importantly, this is paired with that deep squat position so we can get some rounding of the lower back and get a better neck position. This allows us to deeply exhale and again address that specific area of tension that's otherwise pretty hard to get at. Even if you don't have TRX straps, you can hold on to a sink or find this deep squat position around your house somewhere and spend 1 to 2 minutes in this position before your workout, and you'll find that your shoulder feels a lot better. Now, right above the shoulder, there's one area of tension that a ton of people find, and that's the upper trap or neck muscles. A common approach is to start by massaging or putting a lacrosse ball and a ton of pressure into this area. But the problem is this alone never causes lasting relief. That's because a lot of people are surprised to find out that the root cause of that upper trap tension is how your rib cage moves and how your shoulder blade moves. If your rib cage is stuck in a compressed position, or if your shoulder blade is stuck compressed against the rib cage, then this can cause a lot of tightness that can be experienced through the upper trap muscle. This makes trying to move your neck and your shoulder feel like riding a bike with flat tires. It's clunky and it doesn't feel smooth. So what's the solution? Well, the thing that I've found to be most effective for the greatest number of clients is a side-lying reach with exhale. This position is beneficial for a couple different reasons. First, it's going to compress your rib cage laterally, which is going to give your shoulder blade a little bit more room to reach. Now, with that rib cage in a better position, we can learn to move our shoulder blade on the rib cage better, and that's what's gonna free up that tension that you're experiencing in the upper trap. There are a lot of different beneficial variations of this, but I just recommend either a sweeping reach or a forward reach and exhale, maybe even using a foam roller to really support that arm and allow you to reach really far and get that shoulder blade really moving around the rib cage. Again, it doesn't take a lot of work, just 1 to 2 minutes before your workout to really get that tension reduced and get your shoulder and your rib cage feeling a little bit better. Then you can go into your normal strength training exercises, building strength in your chest and your shoulders and your back to really reinforce these new movement patterns. I found over time that just these 3 drills alone, done consistently and done well, can help alleviate over 90% of common aches and pains and tension. Make sure you're consistent with them for a few weeks and also building strength with normal strength exercises in conjunction with these movement drills. If you happen to be a coach or a trainer working with clients to improve their movement, you can check out my full course Movement Assessment 101, which goes through each joint of the body and exactly how I address tension and then build lasting strength and movement pattern changes. If you do have any questions of other areas or any follow-up videos that you want to see, go ahead and leave a comment in the description below and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Hopefully these drills are really helpful for you. If you want to learn more, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.